Okay, well, hello friends. Hopefully you can hear me. I've got mics and everything set up. Everything's running. It's taken me a little bit longer to get set up than normal. I started a bit earlier, just to make sure, or try and minimize the hiccups. Anyway, it doesn't look like anybody's watching, but if anybody does watch this afterwards or comes to thank you for doing so. It's been a long time out of swimming. I'm going to be pretty rusty. I've been doing quite a bit of real world flying and stuff, so quite had the time to get online, and it's a bit depressing in the UK in the winter nights all the time, so weekend is ideal. See the excellent hot skyscapes. This is the performance setting, and you can see there GPU really isn't working very hard. That, and we're limited by the CPU, the larger number of those two. Sound the gate doing nothing, so I've got it set. It's really useful now having presets, which I wrote last time because I think I failed to update it particularly well. But high performance is what I've got it on. We'll see how we get on with that. Switch it to high quality and a bit of a difference. I'm not going to muck about with it too much, but that gives you an idea there. And I'll bring the frame rate up every now and then. Try to keep it off to get rid of the loss of immersion. So here we are, stand 1-2 at Gatwick. We are off to Alicante. A bit of a long flight. I thought I'd give myself a bit of time. I can't promise that I will be sat at the controls the entire time. The route's a bit of a mess. It was difficult to difficult, if not impossible, to get the route correct with free route airspace in France. So, mind. Went for something direct. It is not a Eurocontrol validator, which is a shame because I do like to try and pick something realistic. Anyway, I've just got the charts ready. There's not a lot of traffic here at Gatwick, but approach is online, as is the ATIS. Don't know if that's working on VATSIM yet. So without further ado, let's jump into the jet, start getting set up, and then get on our way. It's going to be a full setup, as always. I'm sure I've explained that in the past. It'll be a quick and dirty, although I probably will run through checks to make sure I haven't missed anything, although once you get used to the flows, it should come relatively naturally. So, quick and dirty upper overhead. Come on. And interestingly, we have no gate power. That's different. I wonder if that's because I got the brakes off. Shall we? Well, that's an easy fix. Get the GPU on. Available. There we go, that was the one. Aligning. That ding was just because I went to attitude there, 8 minutes. Damper can come on, caution out. There we go, because they are both aligning. Got more for all of these. Source auto. Temperature's about OAT, makes sense. Test the fuel crossfeed if you want. Leave the pumps off for the moment. Just checking that those lights that's on, those are off. Cabin user line V are on. You don't roll meter, just a metering panel. It doesn't do anything. Leave the fasten belts off. Check the others. Minus park, both off. Set right. Cabin differential 0. Clearly not like pumps on. There's some SOPs, leave that off. Spoiler out. Heat can. Those on. The overheat. Leave the probes off and the anti-ice off. Relatively drizzly around London, so we'll see what we guys on Archer. Set the cabin AC up as you like. We can could put the packs to auto, we'd have conditioned air in the world. Heat bleed can come on in preparation for the interview coming on. 350 is our cruise, the arrival is 142, 150. Nav lights are on, strobe is set to steady strobe on. That just lets people know that AC power is applied to the aeroplane. Overhead done. Coming down here, we'll set the MCP up later. Leave all of that as is, it's set to an odd number because we haven't cleared. We've got hydraulic pressure and test off. Go down, matches the gear. Take off config works. Check that the spoilers match the control position. That's just a sim check, of course. And there you go. Bail your IR for that. I'll set that back on marking. So the ATIS for Gatwick 136525.
Level 75.
It works.
Surface wind 330 degrees, 15 knots. Visibility 10 kilometers or more. Broken 1,700 feet. Temperature +6. Dew point +3. QNH1005. Acknowledge receipt of information Yankee. And advise aircraft type on first contact. Gatwick information Yankee. Time 1020 Zulu. Runway in use 26 left ILS approach to be expected. Transition level flight level 75. Surface wind 330 degrees 15 knots. Visibility 10 kilometers or more. Broken 1,700 feet. Temperature +6. Dew point +3. QNH1005. Acknowledge receipt of information Yankee. And advise aircraft type on first contact.
There we go, that's good that that works. Saved a bit of hassle, and that was a VATSIM issue, I believe. Don't quote me on that, I have been known to be wrong in the past. But at least that works now. Good, so, get clearances and stuff, you know. Don't need the IRS heading. I don't think any of the data link stuff works. Could try. No, look, I'm clicking on that and it doesn't work. It would be really good if that did work. Whined about it, but I imagine there's a lot more going on behind the scenes that isn't so easy. Zibo and his legendary skills would make very short work of that. Because it would definitely save some radio chat, especially when it's... I know you can do it via text, but it's much nicer to do. Anyway, AirRank 2112, the data was... what's wrong? Anyway, it is valid from December the 2nd to December the 29th. Just trying to think which way round that code. That's the nav data code, I think, produced, which is usually before, just indicates the country. But the point is, it's valid from those points, and there's a lot of 1s and 2s there, so I'm not even going to try and work out. It's usually a bit more. Why just a W? Anyway, that would match with the aeroplane. The engine rating matches, which is we are X Kilo Kilo. Stand 1 2. That's just for my benefit to write it down for when I call up. GPS left goes in IRS position. Off to Alicante. So going to port that route, and I'm going to check it. OFP. Sorry, I don't really have the capacity to get the actual key up on the screen. I always do print it out, and it's terrible for the environment, but I do need stuff to write on. Know what's going on. So we are going BOGNA, Williams 612 BENBO, 72 Drake, direct SITET, SOPIL, ANETO, 860 to Valencia, and then Michael. E. Back here. Fine. Standard one, so that hopefully people know it's me. Some other random person. So gross weight, we get that from the load sheet. I've already put our payload on 125 packs. You can just type in 125 and blue total, and I put cargo in the rear hold to give us an aft CG, which is good for fuel consumption. Reduces CG. Our fuel 7494 for the sector. That's got an extra 30 minutes reserve.
Ground flight deck hose disconnected and starting refueling.
Okay. And seeing as we're going to push at 11, start getting the punters on board. Oh. So our zero fuel weight, 55.1. Yep, only 100, not any one. A bit of a rounding difference compared to the OFP. Takeoff weight may be slightly different. It's going to be pretty close. We are planning 7.5, so I'm going to put that in fuel, plan fuel. The reserves 2096, 2. Index of 6, cheapskates. And we're at 350. Now you might think, why are we lower? Sometimes it can be due to airspace today because of weather if you have cruise wind. For most of the journey, it's an extra 20 knot tailwind at 350 compared to 390. So that is probably offsetting that difference. An extra 15-20 knots on the tail is nothing to be sniffed at. It's going to keep you in the air for a shorter time. So the top of climb wind 350, 60, 353 at 63. Go. ISO deviation +7, and that's the initial done there. Transition altitude is actually 6. The transition level changes. That's why 75 is the pressure. And on performance in a minute, you can see 3.5 on arrival. That's more than our reserves, which is good. And putting that plan in, I'll close the calculations we've done on current fuel. So departure-wise, it's an RNAV departure. So there are no nav aids to put in that. Yeah. The departure is 6. It's going to be 257 initially. With a runway heading of 258. It's then going to be a left turn of 175. So I'm just putting that over here just to remind me. I say there's no nav aids to tune, but if I was going to have to fly it manually, it just saves looking at the chart. There are some speed restrictions, and there's probably, look at the Gatwick charts, and those restrictions. I depart, there we go. There are a lot of notes, 4 pages of notes, noise abatement. Just minimum disturbance. So go with 1500. Though actually we've got a speed restriction, so here we go up to 3. It's going to be a steep climb. Be a little uncomfortable. You have to use VS to finesse. So using, it's not that soft anymore. booted off the sim brief.
Ground to flight deck, fuel is all loaded up and you are good to go.
Okay, so we've got our fuel 3760, 750 gives us 7510, so scribbling that down just so that we can keep an eye on our fuel. We're going to Alicante.
0 degrees at altitude 4,000 feet IFR.
So let's just have
Roger,
a
yes,
chart.
318. Just run at full clearance, read back, cleared to enter controlled airspace at altitude 4,000 feet, heading 070 IFR.
UPS 318, cleared to enter airspace, heading 070 4,000 feet.
Just run at correct.
So we will actually have going to plan from a Mike intersection departure. It's 3255. Hello. 3316 is one's calculator, which is checking. Starter extension of 150 meters. Any sense? Anyway, 150 plus 3255. Okay, I'm going to take the value from the chart just so I definitely can't get that on 3255.
Susan Air 40315, track miles, descend to altitude 6,000 feet, QNH 1005.
Descent to 6,000 feet, unit was a T1.
Susan Air 40315, QNH 1005.
So
QNH
just calculating
1005,
performance. And interesting, giving us flap 1. That's the not, to be honest. But we'll do it with flap 5, we know we can get away with it. So, it is 6 degrees. It's going to be 24k, 36. So 26 left. This is full, so I do have to ask them. Flap 5, 24k, it's 36. Over the initial climb anyway. $24, 36, less than 70 ton. Flap 5. Oh, I think we're at a gate, so CG is not working. So if the CG doesn't auto-populate, it doesn't do it in the load sheet. We therefore take it on 26.2. It's not our landing, it's current growth.
UPS 318, inside controlled airspace, radar control.
It's going to flummox it. 0.75 on
Here's
it.
that.
UPS 318, you're inside controlled airspace now, radar control.
Radar control, UPS 318.
So
UPS
V1
318, speed 220 knots, full
36.
220 knots, UPS 318.
Susan Air 403 speed 220 knots or less.
Speed 220 knots, all answers was a T1.
Gatwick, good morning. Ryan SM Delta X-ray.
Ryan SM Delta X-ray, Gatwick, hello, readability 5.
Readability 5, Ryan SM Delta X-ray. Yankee Stand 1-2, Gatwick, which goes to Alicante.
Ryan SM Delta X-ray, clear to Alicante, BOGNA 1 X-ray departure, squawk 7501.
Cleared Alicante, BOGNA 1 X-ray departures 7501, Ryan SM Delta X-ray.
Ryan SM Delta X-ray, correct.
Good, that was nice and quick.
Turn left heading 040 degrees.
So, 1 X-ray. I have the chart for BOGNA 1 X-ray. Over legs.
Can you repeat that heading?
Turn
Double
left
check that.
heading
No, we're
040
not.
degrees.
It's just transient.
UPS
So
318,
check
turning
and
left
clear.
heading 040 degrees.
And I haven't put the winds in because it doesn't really matter. The aircraft are going to accelerate 3000. Thrust 1500.
Repeat that, did not hear you.
4,000 feet to the present T1.
4031, descent altitude 4000.
143.
4,000 feet to the present T1.
Cleared. Nav aid set. No conventional nav aids to use. Transponder is set. Started in a moment. Doors shut. So, minimum flap is 1500.
UPS 318 descending to 3000 feet.
So, let's double check this departure. 06, 220 below.
4031, turn left by 5 degrees on VAT heading. When established on the localizer, runway 26 left, descend on the glide path.
20, 220, a 4, 250, below 5.
Turn left 5 degrees, runway 26 left to the present T1.
250 and 6. 250 and 6, 250 and 6. 5, BOGNA, happy days. And then you can see that takes us way down and we
UPS
have
318.
to sort the arrival out.
Heading 030, 170 knots.
UPS negative, turn left heading 350 degrees, speed 180 knots or greater.
One at a time, one at a time.
What? What heading? Can you repeat that, please?
UPS turn left heading 350 degrees, speed 180 knots or greater.
Heading 350 degrees, 170 knots. 180 knots or greater.
Get a notepad.
4031, turn left heading 260
Be
degrees.
my tip there.
Left heading 260 degrees to the present T1.
Okay, so we've got the pumps on. Get the APU started. Actually, I'm going to turn the air off. So, those shut.
UPS 318, no ATC speed restrictions.
Gotcha, UPS 318.
I think we are on 12. So we're probably going to push back and face west. Short taxi.
UPS 318, turn left heading 290 degrees. When established on the localizer, runway 26 left, descend on the glide path.
UPS 318, heading 290.
UPS 318 on VAT heading. When established on the localizer, runway 26 left, decent on the glide path.
Gotcha, GPS 318.
GPS 318, read back on that heading when established on the localizer, runway 26 left, decent on the glide path.
Painful, painful. Right, anyway, let's get the punters sat down.
Tomcat 60 radio check.
It is
Hunted 60, get a direct to hello visibility 5, break
The
to the
APU
4031, turn left heading 230 degrees.
this could be a disaster. Let's let that cool down. I forget how long the cooldown has to be.
Gatwick.
Sudan 401, I can copy.
Sudan Air 4031, turn left now heading 220 degrees.
220 degrees, Sudan 401.
History 18, turn left heading 280 degrees. When established on the localizer, runway 26 left.
I think I know what I've done. I have pushed the button. So I have a key mapped to this toggle switch because it springs back, so I have a button mapped to this, and I think I'd pushed that one which turns the lights on.
GPS 318 on, look live.
So let's just give that a minute. It doesn't matter if it's late, just to make sure it doesn't scupper it too much.
Increase in 1 uniform, descent, flight level 80.
Just goes to show how a little bit of rustiness can cause drama. Okay, so there's one. Hold that down for 3 seconds. See what happens. Now the APU may not fire up just because I've no, there we go, that's good. Phew! I had a tech aeroplane then. There you go, that's messed up my timings. And of course you wouldn't have that issue in reality because on the same switch, like I said, it's because I've got multitude on Warthog throttle assigned to things. Goes to show how much you get used to that muscle.
Because 218, turn left heading 240 degrees to re-establish on the localizer, runway 26 left.
Good thing he's not busy. So we can use power after a minute, air after 3. So let's do that.
Sudan Air 4031, no ATC speed restrictions.
Get disconnected.
Where's that?
Sudan Air 4031 on your heading. When established on the localizer, runway 26 left, decent on the glide path.
So I think we're going to do that, but I'll connect first just to
cockpit. Tow is driving up.
just to make sure.
GPS 318 reestablished.
Sudan Air 4031 on your heading. When established on the localizer, runway 26 left, decent on the glide path.
When established on the localizer, Sudan 401.
Big old jet.
Easy tree, someone uniform, leave Holly, heading 040 degrees.
Leave Holly 040 degrees, unit 371. Tomcat 60, Gatwick, director.
Tomcat 60, Gatwick, standby, break. UPS 318, runway 26 left, center switch, 330 degrees, 15 knots, clear to land.
GPS 318, clear lane, runway 26 left.
Tomcat 60, Gatwick.
Okay, all doors and hatches are closed. Ready to connect.
Tomcat 60.
Tomcat 60, Gatwick, director.
Tomcat 60, we've got information Yankee stand 568 for 787-8, request 9 for clearance to Barbados, Breakout.
Tomcat 60, clear to Barbados, Norma 1 X-ray departure, squawk 3537.
So we are looking self-sufficient. We'll have the air on in a moment.
Norma 1 X-ray departure, squawk 3517. Tomcat 60.
Pop those on now so I don't
Tomcat 60,
forget.
next to squawk 3537.
3537, Tomcat 60.
There's our 3 minutes.
Easy 37 when you form turn right heading 060 degrees.
Right 060 degrees, easy 37 when you control.
UBS 318 have visual on runway.
Clear to land. Don't know, you might just give up. Run 7 Delta X-ray, stand 1-2, request push and start.
Rhino 7 Delta X-ray, stand 1-2, push and start, approved, face west.
Start approved, face west, run 7 Delta X-ray. Okay, so now in mid to push. Push light comes on. Overhead looks fine. It's going to be a rapid startup.
Ladies and gentlemen, mobile phone and tablets have permitted to use for the whole duration of the flight in airplane or flight mode. If your device does not have airplane or flight mode, it needs to be switched off now and remain switched off for the whole duration of the flight. Thank you.
Alright, we've got everyone strapped in.
Ground to cockpit.
Okay, we're good.
Please show me where you want to go.
What's us facing west? That'll do.
So connected and bypass pin inserted. Release parking brake.
1103. And we got 7500.
Starting pushback, and you may start engines.
Easy 37 uniform 40 track miles, descent altitude 5,000 feet, QNH 1005.
Descent 5,000 feet, QNH 1005, easy 37 when you control.
So, let's get the engine started. Packs off. Look down here. Start engine number 2. So you can see a bit better. Looking between 20 and 25% into its motoring. Get to 25, but there it is, fuel on. So air from the APU is spinning up the turbine. That's getting air coming into the engine, and then you inject fuel and set fire to it, which gets the N2 rising. EGT comes up, load of fuel in, fan at the front starts spinning, which starts to bring cold air in, and then starts to reduce that EGT, stabilize. Pretty simple explanation of start a jet engine. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Captain Director, good morning. EG971 Alpha with you. We're in Airbus A320 on stand 102. We've got information Yankee on board and QNH 105.
Is that jumbo?
Can I have a clearance to Glasgow, please?
Looking pretty good, isn't it?
Easy 971 Alpha, Gag Director, hello, cleared
Number
to
1 started.
Glasgow, landboard 6 Mike departure, squawk 0242.
We're clear to Glasgow on the landboard 6 Mike departure, and we're squawking 0242 for EG971 Alpha.
Easy 971 Alpha, correct.
Operation complete. Set parking brake.
Get the fuel first. It's
3,000 feet to 37 when
brake
you
set.
Disconnecting tow. Stand by.
Look at enhanced skyscapes. Great add-on. Might be made redundant by
UPS Terminate taxi, stand 170
Explain 12,
via
but
Juliet.
it's still
Sierra.
good. Well worth whatever it costs.
Stand 17 taxi Juliet. Can you repeat that taxi?
UPS Terminate taxi, stand 170 via Juliet Sierra.
170 Juliet Sierra.
Stand
Write it down.
170 via Juliet Sierra. UPS 1318.
Sudan Air 4031, runway 26 left, Memphis Century, 3037, not clear to land.
Runway 26 left, cleared to land, for the T1. Tow is disconnected and bypass pin has been removed. Hand signal on the right. We'll see you next time and have a safe flight.
Okay, so we can run through the initial part of after start. Probably have that in auto actually to make sure that it does work. There's the pin. But I don't think that's part of most operators' SOPs. So the only way that you're going to find out if the ISO valve is not functional by leaving it in auto and force its way to open by using APU for both sides for the packs. So yeah, digging it around the attics. So map set, control check, full right rudder, clear EU, trim set, 2 idle D10. I'm sure I've missed something. Figure it out. Equals checked. Run the checks. So generators on, no lights, APU off, not required, start switches both continuous. Probe heat is on, anti-ice is not required for takeoff. Air conditioning, packs auto, heat on, isolation valve, open. Flap, 5 required, 5 set. Green light.
Turn left heading 350
Trim, 475. 475 set. Start levers, 2 idle D10, both of them. Flight controls checked, recalls checked. Yeah, they are good. Minus 7 Delta X-ray, request taxi and departure via Mike 1.
Minus 7 Delta X-ray, taxi left right, Mike 1, runway 26 left via Mike.
Taxi holding point Mike 126 left via Mike, thanks. Delta X-ray.
402, request taxi to gate.
4031, vacate.
So we are clear to the left. Let me just make sure the controls work. Yes, to the right. Brakes off. Config checked. That's just a quick blast of the throttles forward to make sure that the config horn does not sound. If it does, you need to stop by the parking brake to run through your checks again. So it's left here onto Mike. Get going.
Director, good morning, EG 8491 radio check.
EG 8491, Garrett Director, hello, readability 5.
I'm going to LNAV departure. So we're pretty much on time, even with that slight delay.
Garrett, there is a very good morning, Easy 1 to Alpha Delta on stand 49. Information Zulu, Today's 1005 hectopascals, A320 requested clearance to Geneva.
Standby break, minus 7 Delta X-ray via Mike 1, runway 26 left, surface wind 330 degrees 7, correction 17 knots, clear for takeoff.
Well, Mike 126 left, clear for takeoff, minus 7 Delta X-ray.
Easy 37 inform, turn left heading 290 degrees, when established on the localizer, runway 26 left, descend on the glide path.
At left 290 and when localizer established, descend with the glide path, Easy 371 uniform.
Susan Air 4031, taxi stand 145 via Juliet.
Stand 145 via Juliet, so the first 81. Good morning, Easy 8491.
Approaching
We are
26
stand
left.
105 with Zulu A320 request clearance to Rovaniemi.
First station, calling clearance.
Easy 1 to Alpha Delta.
Easy 1 to Alpha Delta, clear to Geneva, BOGNA 1 X-ray departure, squawk 7504.
Cleared to Geneva on the BOGNA 1 X-ray 7504 for Easy 1 to Alpha Delta, thanks.
Easy 1 to Alpha Delta, correct. Right, Easy 8491, cleared to Robert
On
Yankee,
runway
frame 1 Mike
26
departure,
left.
squawk 7765.
So 258.
Rovaniemi, frame 1 Mike,
Yeah, there we are, it's about 258.
Easy 8491.
Easy 8491, correct.
So I didn't hear the cabin secure, but I assume that it is. Recalls checked, 143, 143.55, the trim is set. It's going to be about 11:12. And we got 37, 020. So power to 40. There it is. Power, Toga, 9. full pressure on the controls.
uniform, Eastern Standard for Wifi.
A lot of left rudder needed.
371 from Roger, continue approach runway 26 left.
Continue, unit 371 uniform.
80 knots.
Relax the forward pressure.
V1, rotate. Positive rate.
Gear up. Onto the flight director.
Runway 26 left, this is the tree 17 on the clear to land.
Clear to runway 26 left, is 371
400.
uniform.
Minus 7 Delta X-ray, report passing altitude.
Passing altitude
1,000.
1,100.
Minus 7 Delta X-ray, climb now, flight level 170.
Climb now, flight level 170, runners. Right, what I'm going to do is put 170 in there. The remaining level change. There's the thrust reduction. We've been given that as a climb now, so we can. The anti-ice on because we're about to go into cloud. The restriction is still 220. I'm going to obey that. We're going to bug up. Now 3,000 anyway. There's the aeroplane accelerator, we're above the carrot. Wow, we're going to get ice. Still on nav. Passing flap 1. Flap up. I'm going to set
Landing start 60 ready for push and start.
Tom 60, stand flight 6, push start, approved.
Push start approved, Tom 60.
till KKS 11. So passing flap up, flaps up. Let's get up, off, bring off. MCP is set. Don't have a stop out now. And then we get to this one, we can accelerate. Leave the anti-ice on just for this. Everybody's bouncing around all over the place. We'll let the crew out in a moat. And we could, if we were in VNAV, we'd have to remove all those restrictions. We still can, just by pressing it. But it was easier and smoother to just leave the airplane in level change. Look at that, that looks pretty good.
Then Air 431 taxi stand 136 via kilo.
136 seconds.
Apart from that noise, looks pretty good. Flight level, so we should have changed. Pressure setting.
Minus 7 Delta X-ray monitor, Unicom 122 decimal 8 flight.
Unicom 122 decimal 8, thanks for the service group. Okay, we're still going to maintain the speed restriction. Just get rid of those. There we go. So we have passed and accelerate the speed restriction is going to make. See those all still there. Although we are probably going to get rid of those anyway once we go above 10. So we're accelerating and smoothed out. Let the crew out. And you can see that the aeroplane is pressurised in the cabin doing its thing. Pressurising at a reasonable rate. Just the noise that you get with enhanced skyscapes. But now these speed restrictions, if they don't go, will do. So just go see what it does. It should still keep them. See it does, so we need to delete those out as well. There we go. Climb page 285753. maybe 5 days. Could of course done that manually and just ramped it up to VS to maybe maintain 1,000 feet a minute. 500 is the minimum ATC expect. Although this is on quite efficient. There you go, you can see the south coast already. BOGNA. Oh. BOGNA. So you can see the resolution is not great on those, but that's the price you pay for the performance. But look at the shadows you get. Not certainly just as good as FS 2020. Those clouds that we can't see. That is Goodwood, somewhere I've not flown to, partly because it's short. You've been in there. That is short. No Brighton and everything down here. So we have been in there in the Phenom. He's in there. And again, I've not been there due to the cost. I've not flown there in real life because it's not cheap. So we were off, I think, at 12 plus 2 late. So I've got to wait until BOGNA before filling in anything. Took off 3710, 3720. Or 80 kilos to get to the runway. Not cheap, even if you just call it pound a kilo. Anyway, 170, we're going to self-clear ourselves up to 35. There is no ATC online. So, set once, set twice, I have missed 10 checks, set 3 times. So we did the speed, the lights can come off, let's calm down, nothing's going to come out. Lift's 5.1, cabin is at what, 3, climbing steadily. It's checked, there we go, away. So we are overhead and 19 plus 2. That's still the same, so that's good. We're overhead with 10, so we've got 6, 6, 0. So we've burnt slightly more. But climb fuels are usually out, but it is worth keeping an eye on your fuel just to make sure you don't run out. Anyway, it's going to be relatively quiet, so we'll get to cruise. It's not lunchtime. I'll probably be off mic for a little bit. And thinking about routing down our arrival. Some significant weather down there, which we can talk about in the cruise. Can see is really good frame rate, so we probably could turn these up. I just have yet to cipher a preset. I wanted to make sure I didn't get anything causing too much grief. The CPU is the limiting factor really, so I've got some GPU headroom, and as long as the GPU is hitting 0.3 or something, getting us to 30 frames a second, then you're going to be the CPU kill that. So you can see it really isn't taxing. It's significantly better than default. Why wouldn't you do it? Why wouldn't you use it? Apart from the cost, but it is relatively cheap. And the guy that's developing it probably deserves some support, even if it does become obsolete in the next explained version. think is a worthy endeavour, and I'm sure people modding and making the next version even better, but still going to get 6 months worth out for $15, so not worth it. You can see the quality. It's a little bit grainy and a little bit lacking, but it's so much better. It's not position report, but I'll take readings. SITET. And then there's not really anyone to speak to. Nil ATC for France. And SITET is the file there. So that's leaving UK airspace and entering Paris control. It would be Paris and Bordeaux. VATSIM. Match up like that, but no matter. Missed another 10 check with all my chatting, so it's coming up 6.8. Cabins at 5 is the important one. The diff pressure needs to be increasing as we climb. If it drops, that means that the pressure inside the aeroplane is reducing. Outside pressure, which is reducing. If the cabin goes above 10,000 feet, we'll get the alarm. If this goes ding off the top of the scale, then we are depressurizing the problem. So we're looking for between 1,000, anything in there sort of reasonable as a controlled rate of climb. If the airplane stops pressurizing, this will reduce, this will climb, this will increase as well. Because of course we are at 25,000 feet, and so the cabin to equalize and start coming up here, and then drop to 0. So that's how that works. Smooth this out with a bit of heading. Probably would have been given direct in reality. So SITET at 2.5, that's 3 minutes late. Note down the fuel as we pass overhead. As it goes white, we're overhead. There it is. So we've got 6, 2, 0. We started off with 7.510, so that's 1,500, which is those. Much. Go, so you can see the wind picking up behind us. Aeroplane pitching down to main airspeed as we enter that moving flow, which will take the top of climb further away. Not that it matters. Oh, I'm going to look over the ground, so I'm going to do that. Anticipation. Another 10 check in anticipation. See the cabin is slowly reducing. If pressure can get up all the way into the amber, the cabin stays down here, and the higher the diff pressure, the lower it can be, so see when that settles out at 5. See the airplane pitches just because of how X-plane handles the weather. Passing 300 checks. Top of climb at Deauville. Got a long old direct sector. 32 minutes. It's looking pretty good. That high level cirrus is nice. So 2,000 to go. See, as we climb, the wind is increasing. The climber is moving every time it does that, and it just gets a little bit further and recalculated away. Airplane pitches.
Thousand to go.
Checked. There we go, top of climb. I did with a 30. 2 minutes late, which we took off 2 minutes late, so we expect time to climb to be the same. Like 50. Although it was 3 minutes late. We're overhead Deauville, so I'm going to call it 3-1. 1340. Okay, all of these are relatively close, so I'm not too fussed about those, but here we are back into cruise. If you are watching, please do say hi. I've got it locked, so if you want to speak, you have to subscribe, so please do so. And feel free to put stuff in the chat. Going very far, thanks for the thumbs up. I am probably going to mute the mic and get some snacks, just so. Shout with any questions. Okay, so I have had a look at the meta for Alicante, which is giving 29018 knots, 10k visibility, 2000 to 172.2 QNH 1017, so 1017. Which Ryanair SOP is to do that before you get to top of climb, I think, as a gross error check, so that when you are given it later on, if you were expecting 1017 and you heard 1027, you would question it, or you'd go, hang on a minute, that's a bit different. To try and make sure that you catch those errors. So, it looks like it's going to be runway 28, which has no ILS, so it's going to be a VOR approach, and we will try and do that with VNAV. So, I think Zulu is the one that we want. Let me put in the Valencia to Romeo, I think. Looking at it makes the most sense, unless there's an ANETO version. Valencia, CDAs, Astro, Uni Valencia we've got to Romeo, so others. It is runway 28, we go for Zulu, and the transition is going to be Bess or otherwise a little bit crazy. So that shouldn't change our route. So let's check that. We need to get all the way down to Valencia. There it is, above 100. Yes, that is correct. 37. Yeah, that's just, there's no restrictions on any of these. Should be calculating that 150. Vessels 6.5, that's, couldn't tell you where that's coming from, to be honest. 80 is the lowest for all of those. I don't see any restriction, but we're going to get to Vessel. Hold there. Kind of happy with that. A 9.3 DME arc. Oh no, that's an arc, right, it's not 9.3 DME arc, that is 4 9.3. No, even that was wrong. Okay, no, so it hasn't got the distance on it. It's an 18 DME arc. Then we're getting 093 Romeo. That's the turning point, 2.5 above, yes. 28 Zulu, still 2.5 above. So MD is the missed approach point. Should be a 1.15 glide slope, yes. 1700, yes, that's the actual final descent point. 2.5, 2.5, so bigger by that point. So there is no runway point. So that's 3 DME, so we can do okay, let's pick it up. So Our 10-mile fixed ring, that is the absolute limit. It's going to be VMC, so we'll go for 4 as well. I've got some nav-aids to set if we do need them. Everything's based on the Outet DME. So we certainly need that set, which is 1138. Based on DMEs are off of, no, they're off of 80, 11465. So that's going to be our primary. Secondary on this one for the mist is keep seeing the Outet VOR, but that's just the outbound, so we don't even need that. Absolutely nothing. And for those, we'll need 61 for Valencia. We are going to fly 168 outbound. And when we arrive, 280. Well, so nav aid sets up continuous descent, gives us a minimum of 530. Still quite low. And the only difference is 530 for all categories with approach lighting. So for Cat A and B it's 1500 meters. ENAV DAH depends on operator policy. But we're going to use 530. And we need 1500 meters visibility unless the runway lights are not working, which is we don't need to worry about that today. What we do need to worry about is making sure that we get configured nice and early, so I think VNAV may end up going away. I tell you what, I'm actually going to let it do its thing. It should update this based on our predicted approach weight, which we can put in. So if we are expecting to arrive 3.1, we've got all the tracks. We are losing 1.5 off our current gross weight. And that calculation is simply current fuel quantity of 4.6. Take away our expected arrival of 3.1 is 1.5. So 59.7 take away 1.5 gives us 58.2. Gives us flap 30, 140. I think our reserves were 2.2. We shouldn't be performance limited, especially with a 20 knot heading. And as I mentioned, the METAR is giving 290.18, so I'm just going to say that's all headwind. I'm going to take plus 9 knots. You don't have to put it in, it's only for VNAV, because we are using VNAV, I am going to put it in. So that's our final approach speed. Look, see. Anyway, I'm going to let it do its thing. What I'm kind of tempted to do is I want to level out. I want the aeroplane to level just to make sure that the aeroplane's under control. So we can make these two hard altitudes, or at least moderate the descent and make them fixed. And I'm tempted to do that. But actually I want to see how VNAV will do it. So we'll prepare for the mist, and if the speed starts to run away, I'm not intervene. If it starts to go wrong really early, but I just want to see how VNAV behaves. So as long as we've got all the data plumbed in, which I have put in, if VNAV gets us too quick, I will intervene early, but once we start to get within about, once we certainly get on that arc, if the speed has run away and we can't control it with the speed brake, I'm going to let VNAV do its thing and just see how unstable it gets us. And then we will go and do the missed approach if we need to, which is a left turn all the way around, initially 079. Yeah, and then intercept 127 outbound, so that'll be good practice. Missed is then climb ahead to 4, next 200 knots. Go to mag out and hold, so we can do one map around the hold, get set up and go back in. So that's my plan anyway. We've got quite a long way to go before proper descent. Ian's all the way out there. Almost overhead Valencia. So yeah, it's going to be descent with VNAV. We've put the runway in, 10 mile fixed ring and a 4 mile fixed ring for the VMC. The 10 mile ring is a limit. It's not a target, that's the absolute latest that you can have to flap one set, otherwise you've got to bin the approach. And then 1 mile before all intermediate altitudes between the IAF set point. So the IAF is vessel, so we can descend down to that given whatever height, as long as it's not lower than what's on the chart. And then everything intermediate 1 mile before. So as we're coming over vessel, if we've cleared down to 2,500 feet 1 mile before, we can then set that and let the aeroplane descend in VNAV path, and we'll just see how it gets on. Good. It's essentially the plan. Lipa is online. So is, I think, Geneva. Lipa being Palmer and Echo Papa Alpha. Oh, Altet is for MSAs, so the MSA is quite high. Arrival sector to vessel 6,900 because of terrain, and then it's 3,000 out over the sea. A bit odd. Maybe something closer in that affects that. It does actually say these are continuous descent arrivals for nighttime use, which I find a bit odd. Anyway, I mean, that's pretty much the approach brief. Flying Star is just outbound, so that's not very difficult. for the approach, once we get to Bessel, what I'll do is I'll switch it over and have the mist on it just so we've got one inbound and one outbound. It saves faffing about with the radios, although in reality, pilot flying and a pilot monitoring seconds to anything. Saves faffing from our perspective. And I am anticipating that BNAV will let the speed get away, so we'll end up going. But that's always good practice. Especially if we decide to break off early and try and recreate our latest issue with one of TUI's aeroplanes doing a go around, I think either at Aberdeen, somewhere in Scotland, and breaking the approach early and then ending up significantly deviating from desired flight path. Was we could actually test that as a go around, but that's one thing the report said was that it's not covered in the FCOM. But I'm sure we all know that when you get TOGA on this, when you're on the approach, one push gives you about 1,000, 2,000 feet rate of climb. You know, enough thrust to just get you away from the ground quite smoothly because you're probably doing relatively light. And the second push will give you full power. I think what it doesn't say in the FCOM is that above 2,000 feet it will give you full power, so the aeroplane can very rapidly get ahead of you, which seems to be what happened. Of course it's easy to be a jet expert and say, oh, that never happened to me, but you know, it clearly did happen to someone. Going to full power at 2,500, 3,000 feet would probably do that to you, especially when you're not very current and a bit rusty, rather than press out hold, the aeroplane keeps flying, clean the aeroplane up with a bit of thrust. Rather than being, you know, stuck in level change, TOGA and other things that were going on all at once. Ascending towards the ground rather rapidly. So we could try that as well if it just starts to go peat on relatively early in the approach, break it off and test out that theory. Something relatively insidious that might on the bird strike on takeoff that's going to get anybody. Practice that quite a lot. It's not the go around from low level. You practice that. It's something unusual. Anyway, I think we've got the Pyrenees coming up ahead. Clouds dotted about them. There should be some cumulus around based on the OFP. I've got some weather charts here that we can have a look at in a moment. Certainly the weather on here. Lots and lots of NOTAMs. Lots of NOTAM. Lots of NOTAM. Lots of NOTAM. Lots of NOTAMs. There we go. So there's our route. Lenses on. There you go, isolated embedded CVs. What does the X's mean? Well, this chart here, significant weather, flight level 100 to 450, valid at 12 UTC, so down there. And you can see isolated embedded CVs, tops of 320s, bases below the level of this chart, so this chart goes down to flight level 100, so it's somewhere below there. See that here, that is moderate icing. Flight level 100, so that's the base of the chart. You can see moderate turbulence, tops 220. No, moderate or light. I need to brush up on these symbols. Either way, that one's turbulence, that one's icing, and that's below the base. So you can see there's CVs and stuff dotted about. So should be seeing those around here. There we go, that's probably them, isn't it? As we've got closer to destination. But that's certainly a lot of cloud. This looks like a layer more than towering cumulus. But I think that might just be X-plane limitations. Either way, you can see these are relatively high, but they feel like they're not that far below us. So that's what's on there. This one is 250 to 630. Again, just making it up a bit higher and shows you where the jet stream's doing. And winds. And the reason that I had these was there's the forecast for today from the Met Office, and that's at 12. That trough is on there is probably some of that weather. Maybe there's just a difference in how quickly they think it's going to move, because it's certainly there to there all the way along. That would certainly imply CB's Europe. You can see it's a bit of a mess over the UK. And that was the, I think this was the actual at midnight. So, not great. Ridge of high pressure out to the west though. Again, you can see here just sort of a lingering occluded front sitting over the UK. With a bit of bush coming from the continent. It looked a lot nicer in the sim than it does out of the window. Certainly the UK has got some relatively low clouds, sort of stagnant, moving about. The wind has picked up, it's from the east. My spars are quite close together. We're going down here. And what did we say, 1017? Not far off. I know that was the actual forecast. Roughly get the pressure. 1016, we're going down to about here. 7 is somewhere there, so yeah, not far off. So these shots can be quite useful. Anyway, we are coming up to ANETO. Let's see how we're doing for fuel. Double check what the reserves were. Reserves were 2-1. It's 2-2. So ANETO gets us into the Barcelona FIR. Jeez, rapid. And that's going to be 21. So we're +4. Wind is relatively as forecast. 20, 10, 20, 20, so we've got 4, 30. Significantly less than forecast actually. Use 3480. So we are 38 kilos over. It's not the end of the world, but bearing in mind that the additional fuel I put in, just as an option for weather, it's 30 minutes, 1071, taking 300 off of that means that we've actually only got 20 minutes additional reserve. So, and that's on top of the 30-minute final stuff. Just to give you an idea of disappear. So, Madrid and what did I say, Palma? And they're both online but nothing else. So, could be Unicom all the way. So, top of descent, 12:41. 20 minutes. I'll have have a quick toilet break before that, and then we'll start thinking about heading down. Like I say, the lowest we can do go down is on a late 0. That's listed on the star, which is the minimum altitude on my leg, all the way to Bessel. So we can do late 0 down there. Don't know what they give you in real life. That could be our lowest cleared altitude, and then it drops down to 2,500, and that's only when you're on procedure, not when you go off of those lines. The highest spot height is 100. Direction that we're heading anyway. Okay, see, I get up ahead, 60 miles ahead. Starting to pick up Valencia. So as always, if you are watching, please do feel free to ask any questions before we start our descent. I think I covered it. Those are the salient points. Just have to double check the weather at top of descent before we head in. There's an easy ahead of us. There's 8 arrivals. Don't know where they all are, but there's one easy ahead of us just over the coast, and we should have a pretty clear run. Of course, it just depends if there's anybody on the ground departing. Anything like that, there's somebody currently on the ground departing. Correct run. But you're not going to not do that with a 20 knot, well 18 knot Elvin. But it is VATSIM, so expect the unexpected. So, what we can do is start thinking landing. Going to be 2.8. We're going to initially assume 3.0. Going to use Google or the Meta. And it's currently giving us 290, 20 gust 30. Interesting. So 290, 20. Gust 30, we're going to have to add on to that. Headwind, that starts to be quite interesting. 7 for density, and pressure for the density as well. But higher, so they'll probably offset. Landing weight, I think we already said it was going to be down 58.2. So VREF add 10. That's 20 gusting 30. So gust, so we're going to add 20. You can see that starts to put water break 1 out of commission, even with the headwind. Bearing in mind we have got 10,000 feet of runway, so to be on the safe side, flat auto brake 3, and then we can reduce that once we are sure of stopping. Only because of those gusts. But if there are no gusts, then there's going to be that excess energy. So let's get back down here and unpack. Let's be 75, so we are still below that. So you really do have to do those landing counts, and you need that extra energy for the gust. Just in case you do get a gust. And we are getting no credit for the reversers. Oh, that doesn't even work, so. But, go. Take 3. We'll probably be stopping well before then anyway. Well, we're not aiming to stop, are we? 2 would be sensible. It's getting a little bit too close to the end for comfort. Although of course you could use it if conditions were a bit more benign. I probably would. So still Madrid, looking for arrival. See, picking up the VOR. Plan. So there's Valencia, 3.7, there's Bessel. I don't really know what I'm doing there. Not the greatest draw of the transition onto that arc, but never mind. There is the arc at least. There is the 10 miles. Let's check the chart. 12.2 ATE, 2.8. That's the initial fix, isn't it? Off of there, onto there. Yes. 3 miles from the runway, so at least we've got, it is picking up on the runway. We really want to have flap 1 at the latest at the end of this arc. And I'm a little bit dubious that VNAV is going to save the day, so we'll see. Like I said, I've given you what criteria are going to be. Some minimal intervention. So, yeah, I'll do some minimal intervention, but I'm not going to do anything too drastic. If we do end up unstable, then level the aeroplane off, break off the approach, apply the mist. Now, arguably, we wouldn't need to. Once we're over the coast, we need to do the mist from the mist approach point, really. But up until about certainly 70 ME off of the VOR, which will be on the left-hand side, VOR1, the Alicante VOR. Certainly up until that point, if we want to break off, I think let's turn south, or maybe to about 200 to intercept 127 outbound from the VOR to then go to VOR and hold. Just to cut the entire procedure off, which is probably ATC will give you something like that, or maybe you can just direct it. Anyway, what did I say? I said we're going to set. I'm going to set 8. Why did we say? In the absence of ATC, I'm going to set 100. According to the speed restriction. Gives us 40 miles to go anyway. And have a comfort break, and I'll be back about our descent. I just realised I've left the forecast window out, so put those in before it all goes terribly wrong. Transition level, I'm not sure, I just is we are at 5, so we're going to do 3-1, 200, 100, it's 101, 7, arrival, 328. That's 8. Jeez. Go back a bit. 315. 100. 25. 45. What does that do to top of the set? Lose it. Pretty much what we'd expect, isn't it? ISO deviation, negligible. QNH is going to make, the wind is going to make the biggest difference, followed by the QNH. Anti-ice can, but yet to see convincing argument in its plane. Although if somebody wants to do the testing, at least in the sim you can keep these things consistent. Pop the legs there and then we'll switch over a bit later. goody. That was good. I decided to do that. Right, let's get charts and everything set up. So 280.11465 is tuned 5:30. The day is so approach-wise set up. So despite updating that forecast, we were a little bit quick. Like I said, I'm going to intervene. To at least give us a fair chance of making it inbound. So let's speak very nice and early. You set that, check the pressurization, ascending. E2.2 is our limit. Currently got a ton more now. Reserves. Seems looking good. Not sure what Ortho this is, if it's Spain UHD. I'm afraid I just can't remember. But either way, I think you'll agree. The clouds, with everything else, good. Ex-Europe, all looks really darn good. I'd love to try this in VR. The cloud shadows really do help with the immersion, I think. They're a bit fake when it's overcast and it's not very direct sunlight. That's exactly what you see. Great way of figuring out what the cloud cover is. You can tell, especially if you're underneath it, you can feel cloud shadows and make an estimate of what the cloud cover is. Oh, there is that stocking tailwind. So, the last update, 16, gusting 2.6. So we can update variable as well. So X-plane is going to give us some turbulence. I think I'm just gonna leave the performance as is. We know that we can 0.6, so a slight change in temperature. Those mountains ahead of us. Our fixed rigs. There's our inbound. There's the mist. So follow that arc in. Have a nice trip. Hopefully. Frame rate's doing stonking, absolutely stonking. CPU isn't really working hard. Don't need frames that high, but of course it's the stability. Dare I try doing this? Oh, that just increased. But look what it's done. Look how much harder it is. Now that should be relatively consistent. That should be consistent. Much more so than the other. probably live with style 1. I really don't know what the difference is. Ain't much difference in these. Am I getting less? So there's a bit more noise out there and less here. See, if it's consistently like that, it starts to go off the rails. Reasons I can't figure out why. Anyway, this is all coast out here, so land disappears. And let's see. Goes on when you do that, so if you were landing with a tailwind, have that on. Anyway, 40s, raw distance, especially if it's I think there's a little bit less noise, a little bit higher, so I prefer that, but I can turn it down. The nice thing is that that option is there in an instant, which really helps. So the speed's getting away just a little bit too badly. Anyway, we've got the pumps on. Maximum holds it down. Cabins. Icing is not going to be a factor down here, so we don't have that risk to worry about. Now, as you can see from the map here, there's nobody about to worry about either, so we just make a call once we are established on the approach, so outbound vessel. See, the speed is just creeping away, and the trick really is to just intervene early. There's the speed brake to get out of control. Get rid of that 10 knots early rather than 20 or 30 knots later. And we'll see what VNAV does. I want to see what it does for the decel and how accurate that is. At the moment, I don't think I'll be on the screen again. I'm not sure what those points are. Decels as well. That looks good, doesn't it? Good overlay. It's as good as being there as you can get, I would say. They're killed for this in the FSX days. That looks like our spot height out to the left. So that one there, our track's taking us this way, pointing in this direction. What's that now? Tracking 169, 5 degrees lift. Go down to 80, because that's the lowest that we can. I don't know where that 6.5 is coming from. Can't see that on. Oh, it's for the. It's tiny on the approach chart for the hold. 6.5 for the hold, so that's the holding level, which kind of makes sense. So we can certainly set down to that. But I think 8 is really the safer option.
1,000 to go.
Okay, so we know that the airplane's got 1%. Set 8 for our leg. That kind of makes sense. Still, micro stutters not as bad as in the old days. They are still there. be explaining all the time. There we are, slowing down at 10, but most leveling off, which is ideal. So let's. We have slowed down, so we haven't bust that restriction. That seems a little bit key. And I think now we're above profile. Let's go back. There you go. So, down a bit of speed brake to make sure we don't speed up too much. And it's below 10k, so sterile cockpit time. Phone's on silent. It's starting to run away again.
1,000 to go.
So set that to 6.5. Set QNH. Starting to get a bit bumpy. As the wind starts to a bit more variable. What's the airplane going to do here? Is it going to go straight off onto the intercept? Alicante traffic right there, 7 Delta X-ray, overhead vessel at altitude 8,000 feet, inbound VOR Zulu runway 28, Alicante traffic. But that's it, so it's just not drawing it correctly. Happy days. And remember the end of the descent, really do be near the end of the descent, we flat one at that point. So above 10 degrees, we don't need any antennas for this. Start switches now, so I don't forget. And what I can do, 765 est. Into the clouds. Frame rate again, no real difference in and out of cloud compared to the default ones. The aeroplane is not flying this very well, is it? It's 18 DME arc. We are within that, 18.3, but it was all over the place there. Are we slow down as we hit this? So it's rolling back. So the wind doesn't help. Okay, that's gone pretty spectacularly. Bugged the upspeed at least. And the path has just fallen out. It was too slow to be catching now. So I got speed breakout. Probably just about rescue this. So we've got, I think those are the IAN queues. I don't even know if Ryanair have IAN. DMER load. So there we go. Speed is going to fluctuate. Flat 1. autopilot's going to struggle with this, and me. Like it's going to get any better. So we have at least got flap one. Descent's pretty reasonable. Traffic Ryanair 7 Delta X-ray, final runway, VOR runway 28, 13 miles. Well, I think it's 16, isn't it? Whatever. So apart from the path being horrible, we've done okay to get where we are, so it's starting to drift away. Gusts. There you go, right, so there's the rate of descent dropping away. Use speed brake to help keep this under control. See, it is starting to go wrong. This was not the descent point, not the 3.15 anyway. Might slow, but speed recover. Speed brake out. So
1,000 to go.
30. Can we get to that? 12.2, yes. Down to 600.
$2,500.
Tell you what, why don't we try and see what happens with Toga? Get one push, is it going to give us 4 beats?
Wind shear, wind shear, wind shear.
Well, with that rate of roll, I think that was actually probably a good decision. No, so interestingly, Zibo models the very interesting logic, so that might be interesting point. So let's get the airplane.
1,000 to go.
No. See the airplane struggling. There's our 4. Not sure what flight director's doing, so let's get that off. Put it back on. Settle down. It's on heading select. It's maybe a bit challenging than we thought. Right, there we go. So let's just do a left turn. Go round to the hold. Don't know if the weather's any better. Of course, we did need to clean up, so you can see it can be quite hard work. Was it 27? Oh, let's try that again. So we should have gone into just approach logic. So we did. Let's go down now to the hold. And in the upspeed, it's lift drag, so it's nice and efficient. Should really intercept that radial. And here we're at 4 already, so we'll go around and give it another go once we hold. evidence that there actually is any wind shear. Just the variable wind with the gusts. That does not equal wind shear, but X-Plane sort of depicts this variability quite aggressively. So let's try and get Magal. So another DME arc. I think I might cut that arc and just go straight to it. We'll go for 160 on him. So that's us joining the hold, entering and leaving. So we're going to have to do that anyway. Though I suppose we could just cheat and just do that. But at least that's quite a bit. The parallel entry is depicted quite nicely. So actually outbound and then a left turn is parallel entry. Have to get my head around that again. Yeah, you can see that that arc was a bit of a mess. So issues is manipulating cockpit bouncing around. So that should cancel the hole. Let's just do that. So FMC speed, VNAV path, climb speed matched. Go, the airplane should start to descend by itself. We're looking here at what the airplane is doing, not up here. There's the airplane descending. Do our best to try and ride out these bumps that of course you don't have the benefit of being able to feel like you do in reality. Speed brake early. Set the throttle to something sensible near the middle. That's my hardware throttle. Blue ticks, they don't exist in reality. Top of descent 4 all the way over there. Interesting. So. So start. I've just pressed out into vent. Then start descending. It has not, so let's get it on its way. So I think that 2.5 is far too late. Let's get this under control. And if we do need to manipulate in vertical speed, then simply 5 times your current speed. Rate of descent required for 3 degrees. Of course, the final descent is from 17. Just don't want the speed getting ahead. Stay ahead of the aeroplane. Then LNAV. Overall its turn. .1 is 1700, so let's set 1700. It's down there, and then that's where the 3 degrees stops, which is pretty much what we've got, and I prefer to have the 500 feet a minute as a gradual descent rather than the really aggressive descent from 4,000 here at 10 miles. We're out over the sea, so it doesn't matter. Like anti-traffic runner 7 Delta X-ray 15 DME from the Alicante VOR, bound VOR 028 Alicante traffic. Somebody else is following us in on text. Get flap 5 speed matched. See the runway. They've been bounced around all over the place. So with ground speed of 160, we need about 800 feet a minute, 3 degrees. Checked.
$2,500.
There's 150, so you see that reducing down as well. .800 is going to be more like it once we start to get to the descent point. Remember, gear down flat 15 is that ring.
Wind shear.
It's going to continue.
Wind shear. Wind shear. Wind shear. Wind shear. Wind shear.
Yep.
Wind shear. Wind shear.
Really don't want to be in the back of this jet today. Off. 600. Elevation's 1, 2, so about 1,200 feet once we get to the white band.
Wind shear. Wind shear.
Gear down.
Wind shear.
Lap 15. Gonna have to set VREF. Sorry, VAP. 700 feet a minute. green, holding on the landing flap. Brakes set, speed brakes armed. Check that. A little bit
1,000
low.
to go.
Wind shear. Wind shear. Wind shear.
There's flap 25 coming in. Flap 30 a bit early. No traffic seen.
Wind shear. Wind shear. Wind shear.
And there we go.
1,000.
Set it over here. 4,000.
Approaching 2-8.
Wind shear. Wind shear. Wind shear.
So that's an unstable approach. But yeah, that's looking a bit better. This is going to be horrific. See already the excess energy you need for the gusts. I'm actually just going to hover around 150. Continue.
Wind shear. Wind shear. Wind shear.
400. 300.
Wind shear. Wind shear. Wind shear.
Out the sky.
200.
Sense a little bit excessive.
Wind shear. Wind shear. Wind shear.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
Long landing.
Yeah,
Long
I know.
landing. 7,000 feet
That was not
remaining.
pleasant. Of course, that would be a go around in reality. It's not going to be that bad in reality.
80 knots.
And you're braking.
5,000 remaining.
I mean, the wind is going to be strong there, but it's really not going to need full full control inputs like that. Running out of authority. T-Rap. And then put the taxi light on for them. Good landing, 186. Yeah, that'll do. Pitch, roll. Yeah, all right. Bit flat. Like anti-traffic, Ryanair 7 Delta X. Runway vacated. One way. So, I don't understand we're going on somewhere. That'll be a fun replay to watch. 23, 27, 31, 39, 49. No idea where they are. Be quick. Down here, so what did I say? 23, 27. Oh, okay. So if we go in via Charlie, you. Part 10 and part 12 means I'm coming up to Bravo 2. On the left. Oh yeah, no, okay, good. These are stands, they're not entrances. There's Charlie up on the left. Yeah, pretty long landing. Into line. Now to go up this hill. Go for 2-3, shall we? Stand. You can see a little additional fuel we had left, 2.2 kilos. To land or divert from outside and cheat, shall we? Here we go, ladies and gents, welcome. It's the Alicante, that's where we are. The aeroplane rocking about in the wind. So, 2 blue, 1 red. Engine's dead, I'm not going to muck about with the doors. Replay. So let me just do my admin. Add soft landing 58. Roll 13 degrees left. Yeah, that was fun. Get a strike at 13 degrees, probably. Like I say, in reality that would have been well before. That horrific. So I have submitted all of those. Let's get all them back on. And have the difference. Have a look at the replay. Oh yeah, that's me off of VATSIM as well. Yeah, something like that will do, won't it? what comes next. Oh, you know what? You probably wouldn't have struck off of that. It was pretty bad and pretty flat. No runway excursion neither, hooray! See just how quick we stopped as well, even though we were that deep. Somewhere down here, isn't it? That was close. Just shows how bad it could go. Like I say, you'd feel that in reality. Got that bad, and it wouldn't be that bad, it's just gusty. Variable wind as those gusts come through. Anyway, the weather looks great. This airport is off the scenery gateway, so somebody's done a really good job of that. They've put a runway shoulder on it, and I didn't see any raised lights, so they've done a good job on that. Put on them. I don't know why you'd have down the inside. Interesting. Maybe it needs a bit of a tweak. But anyway, that's us. Welcome to Alicante. Hope you enjoyed the trip. Hopefully we'll do some more. Maybe not this week. A bit of a busy week coming up. But thanks for watching. Give it a thumbs up. Appreciate subscriptions. If you feel like you want to join, see some more, I'll do some more online flying now that the weather's taken it worse. So until next time. Thanks very much for watching. Take care. And until next time, bye for now.